Alright, we're going to be taking a look at the new Minigun 16 weapon. Pretty cool, but there's not a whole lot to it, considering we've had the other miniguns before, and this is basically just the same thing, but a heavier version. So, for the purpose of this and possibly future videos, I'm going to be introducing a build ranking system, where I equip 2 Minigun 16s on each of the heavy mechs at max level, and then kind of give you a 1 through 5 rating of whether or not it's effective. 5 would be something that is super meta, like EM rifles on Panther. 4 would be something that is very good, but not entirely meta, like EM rifles on Paragon. 3 would be something that's workable, but not entirely ideal, which would be something like voltaic RPGs on Panther. 2 would be something where it's just a generally bad idea, and 1 would be something that you just want to avoid at all costs. So, starting off with Paragon, I think it's pretty obvious that this isn't going to be a 5 build. More than likely it's going to go around the lines of like 3 stars, where it's not the best, but Minigun 16 is a fairly powerful weapon. If you're just up against bots or something like that, it can be nice. The extra mobility on a weapon like this is good. The problem with it is that Paragon doesn't really have anything to defend itself, which, yeah, if you have Minigun 16 and you're looking for a mech, I would not consider Paragon it. It's probably somewhere between 2 and 3 stars. Panther. Panther has a really good ability, and that makes it effective with basically any weapon that you could ever want to put on it, specifically long-range ones. For the purpose of Minigun, it does fit pretty well, and it's able to utilize it fairly nicely. The problem with it is that barrier doesn't really stay up long enough for you to get an entire magazine out, but the cooldown does more or less fit the cooldown of Minigun with implants, so there's not a whole lot of downtime with that. It is a fairly strong build, but I wouldn't consider Minigun to be something that's super effective, so I would consider this like a 4-star build at most, probably somewhere around the lines of 3 to 4. Guardian is one of those mechs where you kind of assume that it would be pretty decent with Minigun, just because it's got a decent amount of HP, it's got, the system crash ability, which is really nice up close, and Minigun is not entirely a long-range weapon. The problem with it is that Guardian, outside of the system crash, can't really protect itself, and if you are reloading, a system crash won't really help you. It's way too long of a reload time. So, in honesty, I would consider Guardian with Minigun to be one of the worst options, more around the lines of 2 on my 1 through 5 ranking scale. Arachnos is another one of those bad mechs, just in general, kind of similar to Paragon, where it doesn't have a whole lot of benefits to it. The HP is subpar, the speed is really bad. You don't necessarily need good mobility with something like a minigun, but you could definitely use it if you wanted to. The sentry turret is kind of nice just for spotting enemies. If you're in a position where you have potentially multiple enemies coming at you from multiple different angles, unless they're stealthed, then your turret can be placed on one side and then you can kind of cover the other side. You do want to get that early warning. You don't want to wait until they're behind you. You don't want to wait until you can see them out of the corner of your view, because it could be too late because you have that reduced turn speed. So getting as early a warning as possible is pretty nice. I would consider Minigun 16s on Arachnos to be probably about a 3, better than Guardian. Not as good as something like Panther, though, probably. Redox is another very weak attacker mech, and there's not a whole lot of reason to use Minigun on Redox, although you definitely could. It would be a lot more in line of like hiding, and then kind of using the miniguns up close, whereas normally you'd use them at like a more mid-range. Redox could use them a little bit up close and potentially get some good damage in before they're able to like turn around and kill you because of the stasis that you get from Caustic Blast. But all around, I would consider it probably a 2, maybe slightly worse than Guardian. Gatecrasher, although it is the tankiest heavy mech that we have, it's still not very tanky, and the ability most definitely does not protect it in any way. It's just extra firepower, really. It also does not synergize at all with the minigun, just in general. So even though it does have good stats, the mobility is really good, the HP is pretty good, the problem with it is just it just doesn't fit the style of minigun very well. And for that reason, I would consider it a 3, probably below Arachnos and Panther. Onyx is a decent mech, and I was a little bit impressed with its performance with minigun, but only because I was expecting it to do really, really badly, and it only did fairly badly. Minigun isn't a fantastic weapon, so all of these are going to go into the line of like 2 to 3, like on my ranking, which is unfortunate. I should have thought of like a larger ranking scale, but maybe for the purpose of like other weapons it would be different. But generally speaking, the ability doesn't synergize super well with minigun, but it is better than Gatecrasher, and the reason is because it deals immediate damage, and that immediate damage is something that minigun doesn't have either. So one of your major drawbacks is someone comes around a corner, you don't have the time to spin up your barrels and kill them. You can do a good amount of damage with Onyx's quad rockets just right off the bat. And that is pretty good. I would consider that a 3, probably still below Panther, but above everything else. Alright, so let me know what you guys think, whether or not you want to try to get these Minigun 16s. I know I kind of do, but at the same time I know that they're not going to be very effective. Generally speaking, something with this amount of exposure time is more around the lines of a medium mechs type of deal, and I don't really think that very many heavy mechs would be able to benefit from it very much. But yeah, let me know what you think. Maybe you really want to try it on something specific, maybe you have some thoughts on different builds that I didn't really cover. I only played briefly with each of these mechs. These are just kind of like my initial thoughts on it. So yeah, let me know and I will see you later.